Welcome to Western Horizon Station. Pull up a chair or just keep driving. Either way, we're glad you're here. This first one comes to us from somewhere on a Montana trail. Rain falling steady. A rider thinking out loud. This is Riding Through Montana Rain.
Clouds roll down from the mountaintops and settled on the plains. I pulled my hat against the wind and rode into the rain. The pine stood tall beside the trail. The river ran below, and every mile of Montana seemed to have a soul. I'm riding through Montana rain, beneath that big sky, blue and gray. And I still hear my father say, sunstorms come and storms will go, like rivers through the land. So keep your faith and hold your ground, and face them like a man. Out here where the mountains stand, I finally understand. A hawk was circling overhead above the cedar trees, and thunder rolled across the hills, carried by the breeze. My daddy loved these open lands, the rivers and the stone. He said a man can find himself when he rides alone. I'm riding through Montana rain, beneath that big sky, blue and gray. And I still hear my father say, sunstorms come and storms will go, like rivers through the land. So keep your faith and hold your ground, and face them like a man. Out here where the mountains stand, I finally understand. Now the rain falls softer and the clouds begin to break. Golden sunlight finds the valley and shines across the lake. I'm riding through Montana rain and watching evenings settle in. The storm is gone, but here his words remain. Sunstorms come and storms will go, like rivers through the land. So keep your faith and hold your ground, and face them like a man. Out here where the mountains stand, I finally understand. The river keeps on rolling, the pines still touch the sky, and I ride beneath Montana as the last clouds drift on by.
Some roads don't have names. Some roads don't need them. Next up, a song about Highway 50 in Nevada. They call it the loneliest road in America. Turns out, it goes somewhere after all.
Turned off the interstate somewhere past Fallon, where the sagebrush takes over and the highway goes thin. The radio died out around mile marker 40, and the silence came in like an old patient friend. The mountains just watched me the way mountains do, not caring which way that I came from or go. And Nevada spread out like a secret worth keeping, beneath a blue sky with nowhere left to go. I stopped at a place they still call Austin. 10,000 souls once dug their silver here. Now 300 stay on like they forgot how to leave, or maybe just loved it too much to disappear. There was a woman who swept off the steps of a diner. She looked at my plates and she gave me a nod, the way people do out in that kind of country, where a stranger's still welcome and lonely ain't I. The loneliest road goes somewhere. It just takes its time getting there, past the ghost towns and the dry lake beds and the bones of old millionaires. The sky out here don't need you, but Lord, it lets you breathe. The loneliest road goes somewhere, and it went right through me. There's a tree out past Eli, they say it's 5,000 years old, still standing in silence on the side of a hill. It watched the Pony Express boys come riding through the dust, and it's watching me now, and it's watching me still. There ain't a cathedral been built out is there and does what a quiet thing should. I've been in cities that swallowed me whole, rooms full of people who never said much. But out on that highway, with nobody watching, I felt something close to a human touch. Nevada don't promise you nothing but room for your silence, your grief and your speed. And somehow that nothing was everything needed for a man who forgot what it felt like to breathe. The loneliest road goes somewhere. It just takes its time getting there. Past the ghost towns and the dry lake beds and the bones of old millionaires. The sky out here don't need you, but Lord, it lets you breathe. The loneliest road goes somewhere, and it went right through me. Mile after mile after mile, just the road in the sky. And somewhere in the middle of nothing, I remembered why.
Some rides take longer than others. Some take a whole lifetime. This next one is about the long way home and what's waiting when you finally get there.
The leather's worn and thin, just like these calloused hands. I've spent a lifetime riding across these shifting sands. The radio's crackling with a song from years ago, back when I was younger and I had somewhere to go. Now the miles have left their mark, etched deep within the bone, but the compass in my spirit's pointing straight back to the home. It's the long way round to find what I left behind, a ghost of who I was and a piece I couldn't find. Oh, the horizon's pulling steady, calling out my name. This weary heart is tired of the wind and of the rain. Yeah, I'm trading in the lonesome for the soil I used to know on this final quiet ride back home. The screen door's got a creak that I've missed for 20 years. I can taste the summer rain, I can dry away the tears. There's a silence in the valley that sounds like an old friend, a kind of gentle mercy where the restless travels end. I've got no gold to show, no trophies on the wall, just the memory of the light and the way it used to fall. It's the long way round to find what I left behind, a ghost of who and a peace I couldn't find. Oh, the horizon's pulling steady, calling out my name. This weary heart is tired of the wind and of the rain. Yeah, I'm trading in the lonesome for the soil I used to know on this final quiet ride back home. I ain't looking in the mirror, I'm looking at the sky, watching all the reasons why I ever had to fly, turn into a flicker, fade into the blue. I'm almost there, I'm home, and I'm finally coming through. Just a silhouette in the dusk, where the shadows softly roam. The cowboy's found his rhythm, and he's finally riding home.
1878. The frontier was still wild, still wide, and a man's heart could be 1,000 miles from his body. Next up, a story set in that time, about the places we leave behind and the memories that keep us moving forward.
Remember when the trail was long and the horses were our friends? When the campfire was the only light that brought us to the end. The saddle leather creaked to tune, the rhythm soft and slow. Back when the world was younger and we had nowhere else to go. Just the rhythm of the gate beneath the velvet midnight sky. Back when we didn't have to ask or wonder or ask why. 'Cause deep in my heart I'm still in Texas, where the red dirt settles on the boots I used to wear. Yeah, deep in my heart I'm still in Texas. There's a ghost of a fiddle tune hanging in the air. I might be miles from the border, underneath a different sky, but deep in my heart I'm in Texas until the day I die. Remember when we'd stop at dusk to watch the valley bloom? Just a cabin on the ridge and a lantern in the room. The silence of the canyon was a sound so sweet and deep, a promise kept to stay a while before we fell to sleep. The iron rails were coming, but we didn't care for change. We were just two drifters happy on a lonely Texas range. 'Cause deep in my heart I'm still in Texas, where the red dirt settles on the boots I used to wear. might be miles from the border, underneath a different sky, but deep in my heart I'm in Texas until the day I die. It's funny how a memory can keep a man alive through the coldest winter nights and the heat of the July. Yeah, it's all still there, just waiting. Deep in my heart, back where the wildflowers grow, I'm finally home.
Some loves never get the chance to begin. Next up, a song about two kids, dreams too big, time too short, and the words they never quite said. This is The Love We Never Lived.
We used to sit by Miller's Creek, throwing stones and skipping dreams. You said you'd see the ocean someday. I said I'd buy a piece of land. Summer felt like it would never end, and we thought we'd never change. Funny how a little town can hold you till life pulls you away. Some went off to college, some went straight to work, some found love and settled down, some still carry hurt, and somewhere in the years between, the kids we were got lost. You became somebody's memory, and I became your almost. I heard you moved to Denver, had 2 children and a home. I stayed here by the county line, working fields I'd always known. Sometimes I still drive by the creek when the evening settles in, and I swear I see 2 young hearts there before the world stepped in. There was never any goodbye, no great tragedy to tell. Life just kept on moving, and we grew up too well. Some dreams become a lifetime, some never get their chance. Some loves don't end in heartbreak, they simply miss the dance. And somewhere in the years between, the people we've become, lives a love we never lived, and a song we
Some things you can't fit in a moving truck. Next up, a man emptying out a house. 30 years of living, trying to decide what to leave behind. This is What the Walls Remember.
The movers came at 8 o'clock. I told them I'd be ready, but I stood there in the kitchen door with coffee gone cold and hands unsteady. Her curtains still hang in the window, the yellow one she picked in June. I keep telling myself to take them down, but I leave every afternoon. There's a mark on the wall by the back door where we measured ourselves as a joke. She was taller than me by a half inch. Lord, we laughed till we practically broke. I got a knife in my pocket to scrape it. Been standing here 2 hours or more. Some things you can't fit in a moving truck. Some things you just leave on the floor. What the walls remember, I can't make forget. Every room in this house is her voice and her scent. I still love her like Sunday, like the first time, like rain. But love ain't always a reason to stay. Sometimes it's just a reason for pain. I found her old sweater behind the dryer. Smelled like her perfume and dust. I sat down right there on the laundry room floor, the way a grown man does. Not crying exactly, just emptying out, the way an old house does in fall. When the family is gone and the windows go dark, and there's nothing left after all. We weren't wrong for each other, we were just wrong for right now. And I've turned that around in my mind so many times, I can't tell the difference somehow. But she's got a life that needs living, and I've got some growing to do. And the kindest thing left that I had left to give her was letting her go somewhere new. What the walls remember, I'll carry along. Every room in this house taught me something I'll hold. I still love her like Sunday, like the first time, like rain. But sometimes the leaving is the last act of love that remains. I took the yellow curtains after all, folded them up, put them in the front seat, drove away.
Not every love story ends at the door. Some of them just keep going. Next up, two kids who had nothing figured out and built everything anyway. This is We Were Something, Weren't We?
You had that yellow dress the summer that we met, cotton and sunflowers, I can see it yet. You were laughing at something I said that wasn't that funny, but you laughed anyway, and that was that for me, honey. We were 22 and certain, the way only young folks are. Thought we knew the road ahead just by looking at the stars. We didn't know a thing at all, but Lord, we knew each other. Remember that apartment on the 3rd floor of Vine Street? The radiator knocking every January night. We pile on that old quilt your grandmother had sewn up, make each other warm until the morning came in light. We were broke most of the time and rich in all the ways that you can only count when you're too young to count the days. I'd give a lot to go back there, but I'd lose everything after. We were something, weren't we? Back before we knew what we'd become. Two kids with nothing figured out, just running toward the sun. And somewhere in the running, we built a life without a plan. We were something, weren't we, darling? Lord, I'm glad we ran. Remember when the babies came and everything got harder? The beautiful, exhausting years we barely made it through. Tuesday nights on no sleep, arguing about nothing. Waking up on Wednesdays, still in love with you. Those years were the making of us. Every fight, every tear, every worn out night. Sometimes the hard road is the sacred road, and we walked every mile of it right. Now the house is quiet in a different way. Kids are grown with kids of their own down the way. You still drink your coffee by the window every morning. I still watch you like I did on Vine Street in the cold. hair is gone, silver mine is mostly gone, but you reach for my hand the same way that you always done. And I think about that girl in the yellow dress, and I think, Lord, look what we won. We lost some people along the way, said goodbye to more than I like to say, buried dreams and started over more than once along the way. But here we are on the other side, still the same two people deep inside, still reaching for each other. In the middle of the night, we were something, weren't we? Back before we knew what we'd become. Two kids with nothing figured out, just running toward the sun. And somewhere in the running, we built a forever without a plan. We were something, weren't we, darling? Look at what we are. Lord, I'm glad we ran. That yellow dress, the third floor of Vine Street, Wednesday mornings, still in love, still in love, still in love.
Some men carry love in a box, in a workshop, in 30 years of showing up. Next up, a son who found that box after his father was gone and finally understood everything. This is He Never Said It Either.
Don't ask me twice kind of man. Wore the same 3 shirts for 30 years and never saw the point in plans. He could fix most anything with wire and a wrench in half an afternoon, but he couldn't fix the silence that would fill up every room. He wasn't cruel about it, just built that way, I guess. Some men learn to carry things by learning to say less. I spent the better part of 40 years wishing he'd just say what I needed him to say. The last good year before he passed, we drove out to the lake, the one we used to fish at when I was maybe 8. He didn't say much different, he just watched the water run, but he put his hand on my shoulder when the day was done. Left it there a moment longer than he ever had before. I almost said something, but I'd learned from him what silence was for. So we just watched the sun go down, and somehow that was more. He never said I love you, but he showed up every time. Never missed a game, never missed a meal, never left us far behind. I used to call that failing, now I call it what it was. He never said I love you, but Lord, He never had to dust. I was cleaning out His workshop after everything was done. Found a box of every card I'd ever sent him, everyone. Birthday cards from 3rd grade, a letter from the road, a drawing that I made him of a fish when I was 4 years old. That box was everything he couldn't say out loud. 40 years of loving kept inside a man too proud. I sat down on his workbench and I finally understood. Some men say I love you with a box of painted wood. I'm like him more than I knew, more than I wanted to be. I catch myself going quiet when my own son looks at me. So I'm learning what he couldn't, saying what he never said, carrying his love forward into everything ahead. He never said I love you, but he showed up every time. Never missed a game, never missed a meal, never left us far behind. I used to call that failing, now I call it what it was. He never said I love you, and I never said it either. And now I understand us both, because I'm his. I found that box, it sat there a long time. Then I called my son, and I said it.
After your father, your mother. Next up, a son cleaning out his mother's kitchen on a Saturday in fall, finding her handwriting on a notepad by the phone, a prayer for each of her children, every morning. This one might stay with you a while. This is what she never said she needed.
On a Saturday in fall, found her handwriting on a notepad by the telephone on the wall. Grocery lists and phone numbers, and a prayer she'd written down for each one of her children, every morning of our lives without a sound. She never told us she was praying, never told us she was scared, never told us that the money didn't always cover what we needed, but it always got us there. Lord, it always got us there. I remember being 17 and thinking she was wrong about everything a 17-year-old thinks he knows. She never argued back at me, just let me have my say, and fixed my supper anyway and watched me go. I remember being 25 and too busy for a call. She never once said, son, you haven't called enough. Just said I love you when I
never once made me feel the weight. What she never said she needed was a son who showed up more. What she never said she needed was a thank you at the door. She just gave and gave and gave herself, like giving was her name. And I was too young and too certain to understand the cost of what she gave. Lord, I was too late. Lord, I was too late. I found a photograph behind the dresser in her room. Her and Daddy young and laughing somewhere I don't recognize. She looks like someone I never quite got to know, the woman she was before. She became our mother and our lives, and I thought about the dreams she had before we came along, the places she'd have gone and things she'd have done, and how she folded all of that away without a word and gave that space to us. Every daughter and every son. The last year that she lived, I drove out every Sunday, sat with her and watched the afternoon go by. She'd hold my hand the way she did when I was small, and sometimes she would hum, and sometimes she would cry. I never asked her what she was thinking in those moments, too afraid of what the answer might have been. Now I'd give everything I own to ask her, just to hear her voice again, just to hear her say my name again. I used to think that love was something you fell into like rain, something that just happened without asking anything. But watching her fold laundry, watching her pray in the dark, I understand now love is something you choose every morning, when it costs you, when it costs you everything, and you choose it anyway. What she never said she needed was a son who showed up more. What she never said she needed was a thank you at the door. She just gave and gave and gave herself, like giving was her name. Mama, I understand it now, I understand it all. I'm just sorry that I learned it after you were gone. Mama, I'm so sorry that I learned it after you were gone. The notepad by the telephone, her handwriting, a prayer for each of us. Every morning, every morning, we never knew. We never knew.
Not every father gets it right. Next up, a lonely old cowboy facing his past. and the one thing he'd give everything to hear again. Just once. This is just to hear you call me Father.
I spend my life in the saddle, building walls against the gale, thinking if I gave you silver, I was walking on the trail. I gave you every sunset, I gave you every dime, but I forgot to give you shelter from the shadows of my crime. I was chasing down the storms, thinking I could make them bow, but I left you standing lonely in the wreckage, here and now. You grew tall like the wild grass, you walked out through the gate to a man who offered kindness while I only offered fate. And I watched you from the tree line, watching your new life start, with a pride that tasted bitter and a heavy breaking heart. I was the one who taught you how to run from all the pain, but I never told you, darling, that the Father is the stain. Oh, I trade every mountain, I trade all the land I hold, just to hear you call me Father, to keep me from the cold. But the river's gotten wider and the night is closing in, and I'm just a ghost of lessons, lost in all my sin. I tried to save you from the thunder, I tried to hold the line, but I learned the lesson latest, that the love was never mine. I made my share of mistakes, I know the tally's high. I see the hurt I branded in the corners of your eye, and I've been wandering the badlands, waiting for the rain to cease, to tell you I am sorry and to finally find my peace. But it's a long way back to heaven, and the door is locked tight, and I'm just a man in shadows, vanishing tonight. They say a man is measured by the things he leaves behind, but all I left was silence and a heart that you couldn't find. Just one word, that's all I'm asking for, just to be your father, like I was before. But the storm has already passed, and you're gone.
Some mornings are harder than others. Next up, a man walking out of prison gates. Cold January morning. Nothing but a garbage bag and a sister named Mary, and the whole rest of his life ahead of him. This is the first morning
Gave me
free.
back my wallet and my daddy's pocket watch. A garbage bag of clothes that didn't fit me anymore. The guard said, "Good luck, son," in a way that didn't mean it. And the door swung shut behind me like it had so many times before. The bus stop was a quarter mile down a two-lane road. I walked it in the January cold without a coat. A free man for the first time, going on 11 years. Feeling less like living and more like staying afloat. I called my sister Mary from a payphone near the depot. She didn't sound surprised, she just said, "I'll come." She showed up in that same old Dodge she's had since 2003. Didn't hug me right away, just handed me some gum. We drove an hour mostly quiet, radio on low. She'd ate some, so had I. We both knew better than to say. She pulled up to a room and house on Clement Street and handed me a key. Said, "It ain't much, but it's yours now. Take it day by day." Lord, this first morning free weighs more than the last morning in. They don't tell you that the hardest door is the one you walk out of not in. I got nowhere I'm expected, nobody waiting on my name. Just this cold and quiet Tuesday and a whole life left to claim. I got a job by Thursday, washing dishes at a diner. The owner was a veteran, he didn't ask me much. He said, "Show up and work hard and keep your business to yourself." I said, "Yes, sir," and I meant it, and we left it as such. My hands that once did things I ain't proud to put to paper. Now scrub plates clean till closing every night. And I'd stand there at that sink, looking out the little window at the parking lot and the street lamp, and I'd think, all right. I don't ask God for much anymore. I used to didn't get far. Now I just ask for one more decent day and the strength to be better than I are. I ain't looking for a woman, ain't looking for a drink. Just looking for a little patch of ground where a worn out man can think. Lord, this first morning free turned into the first year clean. Turns out the hardest part of starting over is just believing that you can begin. I got a room that's mine on Clement Street, a job that knows my name. Just a cold and quiet Tuesday that slowly became something like grace. Day by day, that's what Mary said. Day by day.
Some boys just can't be contained. Next up, a warning, or maybe a celebration. Depends on which kind of person you are. This is the Horizon Boys.
Too many sunsets. He grew up reading Cormac McCarthy on the back porch, watching thunderheads roll in across the plains. His mama wanted a doctor or a lawyer or a sensible man, but something in that boy just wouldn't be contained. He traded in his college fund for a truck with high miles and a guitar with 3 strings and a map with no S. And every woman who loved him said the same thing leaving. You love the horizon more than anything that's next. Mamas, don't let your boys watch too many sunsets. Don't let them read too many books about the road. Don't let them fall in love with wide open country, or they'll never be satisfied coming back home. They'll trade you a future for a full tank of freedom. They'll call you from nowhere on a Wednesday at 9. Mamas, don't let your boys watch too many sunsets, 'cause the ones that do turn out just like mine. He's been a fence hand in Montana and a cook in Albuquerque. Slept in his truck outside a Flagstaff for a week. He sends money when he has it, calls on Sunday when he remembers, and leaves just enough of himself so you can't stop looking for the rest. He ain't running from his troubles, he'll tell you that straight. He's running towards something he ain't named yet. Some men are built for mortgages and meetings, and some men are built for the sky and the thread. He fell in love in Tucson with a waitress named Diane. She had dark eyes and a laugh that could stop the rain. She said stay, and Lord, he wanted to, you could see it in him. But by April he was gone down a 2-lane again. He still thinks about Diane on the long empty stretches. Wonders what a different kind of man would have done. But wondering is all he's ever gonna give her, because some hearts only answer to the sun. Now I ain't saying it's noble, ain't saying it's right. Some people need roots and some people need motion. Both of them struggle at night. But if you raise a boy on wide open spaces, on stories of men who rode free, don't act surprised when he rides off one morning and sends you a postcard that just says, don't worry about me. Mamas, don't let your boys watch too many sunsets. Don't let them read too many books about the road. Don't let them fall in love with wide open country, or they'll never be satisfied coming back home. They'll trade you a future for a full tank of freedom. They'll call you from nowhere on a Wednesday at 9. Mamas, don't let your boys watch too many sunsets, 'cause the ones that do, Lord, the ones that do turn out just fine. Hold tight. No map. Windows down. Dawn.
The desert don't take sides, but she remembers everything. Next up, a man who lost his homestead to a corrupt judge and walked across Utah to settle the score. This is Red Canyon Don't Forget.
They burned my homestead down on a Tuesday before dawn. Said I owed a debt I didn't know to a man I didn't know. Judge Harlan signed the paper and the sheriff looked away, and they left me in the ashes with nowhere left to go. I buried what was left of it beneath the juniper tree, said a word that wasn't prayer, and started walking west. The red rock walls of Utah watched me go without a sound, and I told them what I told myself, I'll handle all the rest. Red Canyon, don't forget what a man looks like with nothing left to lose. Red Canyon, don't forget the sound of boots on stone that's got a score to settle to. The desert don't take sides, but she remembers every soul that walks the ground. Red Canyon, don't forget, and neither do I, neither do I. I found work in Moab, hauling timber for a season. Kept my head down, kept my counsel, kept my powder dry. Sent a letter to Judge Harlan, just one line inside it said, I know what you did, and I know exactly why. He sent 3 men to find me somewhere past the Colorado. Big men, hired men who didn't ask the reason. I left all 3 of them sleeping in the canyon before morning, and kept walking like the desert, kept walking like the season. I ain't a violent man by nature or by choosing. Some things get chose for you when the world turns wrong side up. Judge Harlan's got a big house on the edge of Cedar City, built on other people's land and other people's luck. I rode in on a Wednesday just as the sun was setting. His wife was on the porch, she looked at me and knew. I tipped my hat and told her, ma'am, you might want to go inside now. She nodded like she'd always known this day was coming through. I don't ask God to bless this. I don't ask him to look away. I just ask him to remember that a man can only bend so far before the thing that breaks in him breaks everything around him. And the canyon walls that watch me leave are watching me come back, red and old and silent, like they always knew. It end like this. Red Canyon, don't forget what a man looks like with nothing left to lose. Red Canyon, don't forget the sound of boots on stone that's got a score to settle to. The desert don't take sides, but she remembers every soul that walks the ground. Red Canyon, don't forget. And Judge Harlan won't either. Not after today. Not after today.
Now this next one, this is a little different.
Still
Two
walking.
cowboys, one girl named Belle. A whole town watching, and nobody saw the ending coming. Sit back and enjoy this one. This is The Bet at Silver Creek.
About two hard-headed cowboys and a girl named Belle. Jake rode in from Abilene on the finest horse around. Sam came down from Wyoming way when the rodeo hit town. They both laid eyes on sweet Miss Belle the minute she walked by. And before the sun had set that day, they both swore she'd be their bride. Oh, the bed at Silver Creek had the whole town on its feet. Folks were laughing, folks were cheering every time those boys would meet. Jake said, son, she'll dance with me. Sam said, boy, just wait and see. Everybody loved the show down in Silver Creek. Jake bought flowers from the widow's shop and polished up his boots. Sam learned a love song on guitar and nearly broke a tooth. Jake entered every rodeo and got bucked clean off a bull. Sam tried showing off his quick draw skills and shot a hole straight through the school. Oh, the bed at Silver Creek had the whole town on its feet. Folks were laughing, folks were cheering every time those boys would meet. Jake said, son, she'll dance with me. Sam said, boy, just wait and see. Everybody loved the show down in Silver Creek. Well, Saturday came and the dance hall filled. The winner would soon be known. Jake wore black and Sam wore red, and each one came alone. They both walked up to ask Miss Belle for the final Saturday dance. She smiled and pointed across the room, and neither got their chance. Standing there was a railroad man, fresh in from Cheyenne Way. She took his arm and tipped her hat, then all three rode away. Oh, the bed at Silver Creek had the whole town on its feet. Folks were laughing, folks were cheering when those boys accepted defeat. Jake bought Sam another round. Sam said, guess we both struck out. Everybody raised a glass down in Silver Creek. Now, if you ever find yourself thinking love's the thing you own, just remember Jake and Sam and leave the ladies alone.
From Silver Creek to somewhere outside Abilene, there's a bar off Highway 6, 3 bulbs out on the sign, and a woman named Lucinda who runs the whole place without even trying. This is The Devil Runs the Jukebox at Rosie's.
At Rosie's. There's a bar off Highway 6 between Abilene and nowhere. Got a gravel parking lot and a sign with 3 bulbs out. They serve your beer in bottles and your whiskey without questions. And a woman named Lucinda turns the whole place inside out. She's got boots that mean business and a laugh like a warning. Hair black as a highway at 10:15. Every sensible man in Calhoun County knows to leave her alone, and every one of us goes back again. The devil runs a jukebox at Rosie's, plays the same 3 songs that get you in trouble every time. And Lucinda's out there dancing like tomorrow ain't a concept. much is clear. She sat down at my table on Thursday back in August. Said, "You're the quiet one who watches from the back." I said, "Guilty," and she smiled like a lit match in the darkness. And I knew right then I'd never fully get myself intact. We danced till Rosie cut the lights at 2:30 closing. She wrote her number on my hand in red, kissed me like she meant it, walked out like she didn't, and I stood there reading her handwriting instead. She don't want a house, she don't want a forever. She wants Saturday night and a full tank come dawn. She told me straight one evening sitting out on Rosie's back steps, "Honey, I ain't built for staying, I'm just built for moving on." I said, "I know that, and I meant it when I said it, but knowing a thing and feeling it ain't quite the same. So I show up every Friday like a man without good judgment, and she dances and I watch and we both play out the game. There's a word for what she is, but it ain't a bad one. She's just honest in a way most people never are. She told me what she was before I ever asked her. The only fool at Rosie's is the man who thinks he'll change her, and that fool is me. Every time the devil runs a jukebox at Rosie's, plays the same 3 songs that get you in trouble every time. And Lucinda's out there dancing like tomorrow ain't a concept, and a fool like me just watches her and loses his mind. I've driven home from Rosie's, swerving, never coming back. I'll be back next Friday, pulling in at 9:30. The devil runs a jukebox at Rosie's, and Lucinda runs me. Lord, she runs me fine. Back next Friday, same bar stool, same fool, same Lucinda. Lord, help me. Lord, help me.
Before the church had a steeple, before the road had a name. Next up, a man and a woman rolling into Cimarron. 1889, building something out of nothing but their hands. This is back when the town was young.
You came out west in '89 on a wagon with your father. 200 miles of Kansas dust and nothing but a dream. I was working at the livery when you rolled into Cimarron. The prettiest thing these tired eyes had ever thought to see. Your father shook my hand that fall and said, "You seem like honest work." I said, "Yes, sir, I try to be. By Christmas, you were mine." Remember when we built that house with timber from the canyon? 4 walls and half a roof before the first October freeze. We slept beneath the open sky the week before it closed in, counting every star above the cottonwood and cedar trees. We were cold and we were hungry, and we never once complained, because everything worth having has to weather its own rain. Back when the town was young, and so were we, before the church had a steeple, before the road had a name. We were building something out of nothing but our hands. Back when the town was young, darling, Lord, I'm glad we made our stand. Remember when the fever took the Calloway's youngest boy, and half the town knelt down in the dirt and prayed. You sat with Eleanor Calloway 3 nights without sleeping, held her hand until the morning her boy slipped away. That's when I knew the woman that I married wasn't just mine. She belonged to something more. Some people carry light into the darkness. You were always that, right down to the core. Now the town's got 40 years of living in its bones. There's a schoolhouse and a sheriff and a bank along the road. The children that we raised here have got children of their own, and we're sitting on this porch watching the sun sink low in gold. You reach over and take my hand, the same hand that built these walls, and I think about that wagon rolling in from Kansas, and I think, Lord, look at it all. We buried friends in winter, we danced in summer rain, we watched this valley fill with life and watched it grieve again. But every year that passed us left something good behind. A town that grew up with us, a life that turned out fine. Back when the town was young, and so were we, before the church had a steeple, before the road had a name. We were building something out of nothing but our hands. Back when the town was young, darling, look at what we built. Lord, I'm glad we made our stand. Cimarron at dusk, cottonwood trees, your hand in mine. 40 years, still here.
January 9th, 1887. The temperature dropped to 46 below zero, and a family held on. Next up, the winter that tried to take everything. This is the January that almost won.
The birds flew south in September that year, 2 full weeks before they ever had. The beavers stacked their wood up twice as high, and the old man in Dodge City said, this one's gonna be bad. We didn't listen like we should have. Put the cattle out on open range too long. By November, when the first snow came in heavy, we knew we got it wrong. The window froze on the inside by December. The door swelled shut and had to be forced each dawn. Clara ground the last of the wheat in the coffee mill, and we prayed that January wouldn't last too long. January 9th it came for real. 16 inches fell before the noon. Temperatures dropped to 46 below, and the cattle, Lord, the cattle were gone too soon. I found 3 of them standing in the morning, frozen solid where they stood the night before. I didn't have the heart to look for others, just turned around and came back through the door. Clara had the baby wrapped in everything we owned. The quilt her mother made her, and my father's old coat. She looked at me the way a woman looks when she's scared but won't say so, to keep you from losing hope. Lord, we held on through the January that almost won. Counted every jar of preserves, counted every day till the sun burned the wood down to the green wood, then burned the green wood to the bone. Lord, we held on through the winter that tried to take everything we'd called our own. 10 days that storm blew without mercy. 10 days we didn't see beyond the glass. Claire read the Bible every evening by the candle, and I listened like I never had before or since, perhaps. She read about the valley of the shadow, and I thought, well, Lord, we're walking through it now. She read about the table in the wilderness, and I thought about those turnips, and I almost laughed somehow. The baby didn't know a thing was wrong, just looked up at his mother with those eyes. And something about that ignorance was mercy. Something about that innocence was keeping us alive. There are things you learn in a January like that, that you can't unlearn when spring comes back. That a woman grinding wheat in a coffee mill at dawn is the bravest thing this world has ever put its eyes upon. That a baby sleeping warm
is reason enough for any man to keep the fire going through the longest night with his bare and bleeding hands. March came in like an apology, slow and pale and almost ashamed. We walked outside and stood there in the thin sun, and neither one of us could speak our names. The range was something neither of us expected. The cattle where they fell still locked in ice. I took my hat off standing in that silence, and Claire put her hand in mine, and that was all that needed saying. That was all that needed saying twice. Lord, we held on through the January that almost won. Counted every jar of preserves, counted every day till the sun. Lost the cattle, lost the winter, nearly lost our minds and more. Lord, we held on, and what we found on the other side was worth the holding.
No roof but the sky, no floor but the plain. Next up, a cowboy who never felt God between four walls and found him everywhere else. This is Cathedral Without Walls.
I never was much for the church in town, the hard pew sitting and the passing plate around. Not that I doubt it, just never felt him there, between the whitewashed walls and the Sunday morning air. But right out past the Cimarron, before the sun comes up, watch the darkness peel back slow, like God is saying, here I am. Your God watches over you, and tell me that ain't holy, tell me that ain't said. I've seen a thunderhead build over the San Juan Range, 50 miles of purple sky and lightning cold and strange. Stood there in my stirrups while old Rose held her ground, and felt something move through everything without making a sound. I've watched the antelope run the flats at dawn, so fast and clean and certain, like they always know what's on, like something wrote their purpose in their blood before they're born. And I thought, Lord, if that ain't scripture, I don't know what is. I found my cathedral out on the open range, no roof but the sky, no floor but the plain, no sermon but the silence and the red rock and the rain. I found my cathedral, and it spoke my name. I sat with a dying calf one January night, kept my hand against her side until she lost the fight. And And when it was over and the cold came settling in, I looked up at those winter stars and I said, where'd she go then? No answer came in words, the way the preachers say it does. Just the wind across the mesa and the quiet and the stars. But the quiet felt like something, felt like arms around a man. Felt like I've got her, don't you worry, I've got her in my hands. I've done things I'm not proud of, rode some roads I shouldn't have, left some people in the dust who deserved a better man. I ain't asking to be pardoned for the miles I got wrong. I'm just asking for enough light to find my way along. And every morning when the sun comes up over Leadville and the whole world turns from nothing into gold and into day, I think, whatever's doing that, whatever keeps that coming, must have something left for even men like me who pray this way. Not on my knees in a building, not with my hat in my hand, but out here where the horizon goes further than a man can stand, where the eagles ride the thermals and the rivers find the sea, and everything that lives out here keeps telling me, keep going, keep going. Your God watches over you. You're exactly where you're meant to be. I found my cathedral out on the open range. No roof but the sky, no floor but the plain, no sermon but the silence and the red rock and the rain. I found my cathedral and it called me by my name. Called me by my name. Simmer on at dawn, first light on the canyon walls, the quiet that feels like arms. Your God watches over you. Cathedral without walls. Amen. Amen.
This next one takes its time, and it earns every minute. In the spring of 1871, a man lost a woman named Rose. That fall, he rode to Dodge City and bought a chestnut mare and gave her the only thing he had left to give, her name. This is Old Rose. 8 minutes. Stay with it.
I lost a woman named Rose in the spring of 71. Fever took her in 3 days, didn't even say goodbye. Left me standing in the doorway of a life I didn't recognize, with nothing but her name still ringing somewhere deep inside. That fall I rode to Dodge City with nothing left to lose. Bought a chestnut mare from an old trail hand along the road. She had rose gold in her coat and something soft behind her eyes that reminded me of someone, so I gave her what I owed. I called her Rose because some things you can't let go of. You just give them a new name and you carry them along. We rode the goodnight loving trail together through the years, through the blizzards of the San Juans and the dry New Mexico heat. She never asked me why I talked to her on long cold nights about a woman with the same name and the way she used to speak. I told her things I'd never told another living soul, about that spring in '71 and everything I lost. She turned her head and listened like she understood it all, like she knew that love's a river, doesn't care about the cost. I called her Rose because some names are prayers you keep repeating, even when the one you're praying for is gone beyond the dawn. Every ridge and every river, every drought and every sand, you carried her name gently when I couldn't carry it alone. Old Rose, you have carried me, Lord, you carried her all the way home. She's 31 this spring, which is ancient for her kind. Her legs have gone to trembling and her eyes have gone to gray. The vet rode out from Leadville, said she ain't in pain yet, partner, but the kindest thing you've got left is to not let it go that way. I stood there in the silence of the barn for a long time, thinking about doorways and the springs that take things fast, thinking how you spend a whole life learning how to hold on and spend the rest of it just learning how to last. I called her Rose because I thought if I kept saying it, somehow she'd never really fully slip away. I led her to the meadow where the Cimarron runs sweet, where we used to stop for water on the drive to Abilene. Brought an apple and some sugar, and I sat down in the grass, the way a man sits down when he's done running from a thing. I told her about 71 and the doorway and the fever. Told her how her name had kept 2 souls alive out on the trail. She turned and looked at me the way she always did at dusk, like she was both of them at once, like love doesn't ever fail. I called her Rose, and she became her, somewhere on the good night loving trail, somewhere in the dark. There are men who'll tell you that a horse is just a horse, and grief is just a season that eventually moves on. But I have ridden 30 years with 2 roses beside me, one living and one memory, and both of them are gone. And I don't know where things go when they leave this world behind, but I'd like to think that somewhere past the Cimarron, past the San Juans and the trail dust, there's a meadow running gold.
Sometimes, after everything, you just want to breathe. Next up, a song for anyone who's tired tonight. This one's for you. This is I Don't Want the Gold of This Earth.
I don't want the gold of this earth, I don't want the silver shine, I don't want the heavy weight of a life that isn't mine. The city streets are screaming, they're paved with cold concrete, and I'm tired of the rhythm of the people on the beat. I just want the peace that's hidden in the pines, where the sun forgets the hour and the moon forgets the lines. Take me out of the city, out of the noise and the rust, and leave me where the only sound is the settling of the quiet dust. Chase the horizon till my boots have turned to gray, watching all the seasons just slipping all away. Give me a cabin with a lantern, give me a porch to watch the rain. I've had enough of glory, and I've had enough of gain.
finally tonight, on Western Horizon Station. A man who's been running since he can't remember when, climbed a ridge above the tree line in Montana, watched the whole world wake up, and decided he was done running. This last one is for everyone who's been on a long road. You're almost there. This is I'm Done Running from the Morning. Good night from Western Horizon Station. We'll see you next time.
I've been moving since I can't remember when. Never stayed in any town long enough to call it home. Had a reason for each leaving, some of them were even true. But mostly I was just a man who didn't know how to be known. I've slept in trucks and borrowed rooms and floors of decent strangers. Watched 1,000 sunsets from 1,000 different roads. And somewhere on the highway between nowhere and not yet, I forgot what I was running from and just kept running from the cold. I've loved women who deserved a better kind of man, left them standing in the doorway with their arms still open wide. I told myself that freedom was the thing worth keeping holy, but freedom gets real quiet in the middle of the night. I've seen the Rockies and the desert and the Gulf at 4 a.m. I've seen the Mississippi running brown beneath the rain. And all of it was beautiful, and none of it was enough for a man who hadn't learned yet that the running was the pain. I'm done running from the morning, done pretending that the road is all there is. I found a ridge above the tree line in Montana, watch the whole world wake up slow in golden mist. And something in me that had been moving since forever just went quiet like a river finding flat. I'm done running from the morning. Took me 40 years to learn that the dawn was where it's at. There's a woman back in Bozeman who said stay back in the spring. For the first time in my life I didn't feel the highway pull. She made coffee while the mountains turned from purple into pink, and I sat there at her table, finally feeling full, not full of anything in particular, just full the way a man gets when he's through. When the war inside him settles into something like an answer, and the answer looks a whole lot like the view. I don't know what I was chasing, all those miles, all those years. Maybe just the feeling that I hadn't wasted it. But somewhere out beyond the next ridge was a reason for the running. Turns out the reason was the running itself, teaching me the one thing I couldn't learn standing still, that peace ain't a place you find, it's a place you finally choose.
I'm done running from the morning, done pretending that the road is all there is. Found a ridge above the tree line in Montana. Watch the whole world wake up slow in golden mist. And something in me that had been moving since forever just went quiet like a river finding flat. I'm done running from the morning. Took me 40 years to learn that the dawn was home, and home was where I'm at. Montana morning, coffee, mountains turning pink, finally still, finally still.